you're in for a wild night.
Welcome everybody to episode 117 of Born to be Wild, a Wild exclusive Hearthstone podcast where we have fun hanging out with friends talking about the Wild format of Hearthstone and spotlighting members of the Wild community. I'm your host as always, Nate Wolf. It is great to be back on another Friday evening here. I was about to say beautiful, but it is 100 plus degrees in Portland, Oregon right now, and I'm absolutely roasting. So tonight I am going to do the best with no background lights and no foreground lights, and if it gets dark, then my face is going to get dark. So it is just absolutely too hot right now. How is it, I'm curious, in everyone else's neck of the woods? I am joined tonight by three of my favorite people. That is more than two.
What?
Nailed it.
Wah! I had to beat you to it for just once. We are joined tonight by resident Loremaster Goliath the Dwarf to talk about part one, anyhow, of our Castle Nathria lore. There's just too much to do it in one episode without being here for 4 hours. So tonight is part one. Anyways, long time no see, Goliath. How are you tonight?
I am doing good. Wonderful to be here as always. I always look forward to when new expansions come out. I get to come on and talk about them. I'm not sure which I like more, talking about them and writing about them or actually playing them. It's kind of a toss-up, honestly. But I've had a couple of real busy weeks lately in event stuff. But it's been county fair season in my neck of the woods. And as a local newspaper reporter, that means that me and my team are responsible for taking pictures of the winners of every single livestock competition. Remember, I'm in Iowa. This is rural country. The 4-H groups are a really big thing around here. Mm-hmm. So, I did not know that so many different categories of cows and ducks and horse riding and stuff existed. It is amazing the sheer amount of awards that are given out for this stuff.
The sheer amount, or how many sheep
categories
are there?
There's sheep, there's goats, there's everything. And my skin is peeling from the one time where I was out there for like 15 hours straight and forgot my sunscreen. So it's almost all healed, but there's a bit of the white peeling right now.
Oh boy.
Exactly.
Wow. Well, it's always great to have you joining us, and excited to hear some more stories tonight. Hydralisk, welcome back. How is it? Is hot where you're at as it is where I'm at?
It is. Yeah.
Can you hear that air conditioner in the background?
Yeah. So I'm reporting from the side of a highway, or either maybe I'm skydiving or I'm on a speedboat. Insert
hot bucket.
Windy condition here. But
reporting live from a hot bucket.
Yeah, reporting live from a very hot bucket up here in Canada, but as you know, Nate and I are only like a couple hours away from each other, so yeah, it's just as hot here as it is there, and it is ridiculous. And since I don't have central air, I have like 4 air conditioners in my house. They're just all on, right? Like trying to keep the house cool. What's kind of cool is I can control them from my phone, like at work.
Oh, that's cool.
Kind of like got all that going. So that's kind of neat. But yeah, no, it's bad. It's pretty bad. I actually went for a jog today, which was a really bad idea.
No. Why?
I do that on my breaks. I don't know if I've expressed that to you guys.
No, you did. But
on my lunch, I either do a jog or a walk. But it was like 95 degrees. I'm like, it'll be fine. And I showed up back at work, and my face was like beet red, and I'm just like covered in sweat. And they're like, "Are you okay?"
And you were like,
I feel icky.
I almost made a stinky, actually.
I think that you guys probably accidentally cast Firelands Portal or something.
Yeah,
seems like it.
Don't step in the flames or something, right?
Yeah, it's hot, it's gross, but I'm alive. I had the pleasure of going on another podcast recently. So this past week I went on the People's Champ podcast. And so if y'all want to check that out, it's on all sorts of, I listen to it on Spotify. I'm not sure what all platforms that they have, but it was a really good time. We discussed our top 5 favorite decks of all time. So you can hear what Jordan, Vapod, and myself all chose for those. And you could also hear me failing miserably at their trivia question because I really have no idea. You're going to have to listen to find out.
Oh,
Nice.
Centralizing.
But yeah, that's me. I'm stoked for the show and for the next wonderful, I was going to say human being, but animal you're going to talk to.
I love it. Yes, absolutely. So welcome back, our very own Electric Sheep City. How are you tonight?
Meowdy. I am fantastic. It's new expansion season. And in the vein of new expansions, I am happy to announce that my family and the Born to Be Wild family is going to have a new expansion here in January. What? Yeah, buddy. My wife is 13 weeks pregnant, and I have the clearance to actually announce things now. So
Yes! Yay! We are gonna have a lamb.
Yeah. Well, Static Lamb Village just makes the most sense here.
Yeah, so Hat actually said, what was it? Zappy Lamb Town.
That's good too.
Enjoy your sleep now because you will never sleep the same again. Hydra can verify.
Very true.
Hibernate.
Can concur.
But you can try to tell your little lamb to count his daddy when he's trying to go to sleep.
There we go. We've been getting all of this lamb centric stuff for the little kiddo, and so yeah, so excited. Obviously,
That is
That's
amazing.
awesome.
Oh yeah.
I'm so excited. That's wonderful. Well, thank you for sharing it with everybody. Also, that's very nice of you.
absolutely can't wait. And yeah, the other day I kind of mentioned something, and Armorn was like, I think I know what it was, and can confirm Armorn actually actively guessed it.
This is going to be one of those questions whenever you do that next round of trivia about the show. On what episode was the announcement of the birth of the lamb?
You heard it here first.
Can we very briefly sidestep to talk about Aramorn guessing things because
Yes.
the timing just seems adequate. So last week we had our massive mega bundle everything on day one giveaway thing sponsored by Shokunin. It was amazingly generous. It's basically $400 worth of BattleNet dollars towards this coming expansion, and so the goal, there were several goals that he had in mind, and so he just sent me the money via BattleNet bucks, which is amazing, and said, hey, the goal would be a couple of things. One, to try to give it to somebody who's part of the community as opposed to some random person on Twitter or the internet or whatever. And the other would be to ideally if they could stream their pack opening or whatever would be cool. And it was hey, I don't think anyone has ever done a giveaway of this size before, with that amount of packs or giveaway or whatever all at one time, and I don't think so either. Anyways, what we had done in order to try to ensure that it was someone who was part of our community was to create this quiz full of essentially inside information, inside jokes and stuff like that you would really only know. Some of them you could find out if you went back through old podcasts or old YouTube stuff. Some of them, if you were fairly regular, you'd know because we say the stuff over and over each week. And then some of them are more like the true OGs know, right? And
Deep cuts, yeah.
There were a lot that were so specific. I've been around here a while, and I was just nope, I don't have the time to try to figure all this out.
There's one that nobody got, which I was actually kind of surprised.
There is, and so here's the thing. I don't want to derail the show too much because we got a long show tonight. But Aramorn is the winner. So congratulations to Armor. We've already been chatting.
Yeah.
And there was out of 31 questions, Armor got 30. So I
that is insane.
only missed one.
Amazing.
Only missed one.
Now
and to boot, everybody missed that one. So
Yeah.
that is true. Everybody missed that one. We are going to do a bonus episode where we go through all the answers because they're fun. It's just fun. And I think, if nothing else, it'll be good story time for Shokun. But I just big shout out to Armorn. Congrats for winning. Our second place actually came in only one question off. I just want to make sure it was Mio's, but I don't remember the
Yeah, because it was like a family, which was really cool.
It was two people, and the names were a little bit different, and I'm trying to find it in the Discord. But anyways, yeah, here we go. So yeah, it was Kai and Natalie. Had 29, which is awesome. And so we actually had a one more mega bundle like floating around, and we gifted it to them for coming in second, which was great. I do want to also give a big shout out to Armorn, who has graciously shared some of his winnings with other folks in our community, which was just incredible. And I don't want to dovetail too much, but it was just a very wholesome way to end our week here, and very cool. So look forward to a bonus show coming from us where we'll go over all these answers, and you can hear the inside jokes and where some of this stuff came from. It'll be fun story time from us.
Excitement abounds. Yeah, that was really fun to put together, and even more fun to kind of like see what everyone was guessing, and then just so fitting to see Armorn get all but the one that no one got, which was fantastic.
True. I did give away like our score. If people were like on the fence with the answer or they were close, I gave it to them anyways, to everybody. And there was a couple of questions that could have more than one right answer. We'll go over them all later, but it was fun and very, very pleased with how things turned out. So
it actually made me think, because when we came up with this challenge, I was like, okay, now I really want to think of all these cool old questions I can come up with. But knowing that we could do this sometime again in the future, we could start.
We gotta save
jotting notes, right? Yeah.
I will say we got a lot of comments that people enjoyed it, and it was fun. Like regardless of like winning or losing, that people had a good time with it, which was fun. So,
it makes everybody nostalgic almost.
Oh my gosh, I thought of more as I was like scoring them and stuff, and so we'll have some ammo for another one at some point. And big thank you also to the folks at Hearthstone who gifted us a bunch of codes to give away to people. We actually got a whole bunch, I think 5 or 6 to give away, which was incredible. So good times. I didn't mean to hijack your segment, Sheep. You hit legend over this past week? I'm sorry. I heard Armorn guessing things, and I was like, squirrel.
No, it was a perfect segue. Absolutely. So not quite as far back as finding out about the expansion news. But gosh, over this past weekend, Dr. BOMD and I were co-oping some Cthulhu the Shattered Druid, and I hit legend in Wild as well. So yeah, did that before the new patch hit, and the new patch, we're not going to get into it, a ton of stuff from that, but there's a known issue where you don't actually get the extra copy from Moonlit Guidance. So like if you get the copy and then you play it, you don't actually draw the copy that's still in your deck. So I'm glad that I hit legend before the patch, because that makes Moonlit Guidance significantly worse.
Wow. That's not intended, right?
No, not intended.
Okay. Well, all right. That's good. And then did you I saw something in the Discord. You were posting some pack opening, it looks like.
Yeah, over my lunch break today, I opened my pre-order packs as well. So, opened a ton of packs there. Got 3 different golden legendaries, which is just unreal.
That is nuts.
Right? Like one of them from the golden pack, then 2 of them not even from the golden packs, just golden legendaries. And they were like 2 or 3 packs distant from each other too, which was just wild.
Wow.
Yeah. Great pack opening. And since the change to the upgrade to golden feature, I'm not really incentivized to wait to open them because, what I would do before is wait to open packs, craft the ones in gold that I wanted to have in gold so that I wasn't wasting dust.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now, since there's the upgrade to gold feature, if there's anything that I want in gold, it's not a waste of dust to do it later. So
I love that because it really doesn't matter at this point.
Yeah.
That's great.
Wow. So, well, let me ask, right? Because I've been saving packs from all those bundles. Like, should I be
wait to open those?
Well,
so
yeah, no, I will. But I was thinking, like, I wonder if I wait to open everything until Tuesday when the new set comes out. Like, would I open those, like the class packs first? Because like I have everything.
So you can with both pre-orders. I mean, you'll open all of the commons and rares anyway. And I mean, at the very least, I had a great pack opening, like tons of legendaries, and I still have at least one card from every single class that I still will need to get.
You don't have the coin instantly?
Not quite yet.
Did you see Cora's tweet? It was pretty funny.
No,
I'll pull it up real quick. I don't want to derail everything too much, but it was pretty funny. It was about pack opening. So she, one moment here. One Mississippi. She says, I'm living proof that being a Hearthstone dev does not mean your pre-order purchase packs will be good.
Oh no.
That's hilarious.
Oh, yeah, they have to buy them, don't they?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Why? Who knows? I wouldn't be surprised if there's some sort of a discount.
No, I don't know. So here, there's a comment, right? They might have not been good, but were they at least free? And she goes, no. Oh, that's awful.
You get what you pay for.
It was their Christmas bonus. They get some BattleNet bucks.
Ouch. Ouch. Unrelated, I heard that they were changing some Marvel Snap stuff, but we should probably talk about that some other time. Anyways, wow, this is cool. Well, we should talk more after the show. There's so much going on, but
there really is.
We're doing a lore episode tonight, and there's so much here that we've got to break it down into 2 parts. Let's do our housekeeping real quick, and we can jump into things.
Absolutely. So, for those of you joining us for the first time, welcome aboard. Let me briefly explain how the show works. We record this podcast live every Friday evening at twitch.tv/borntobewildhs. And the video version of this podcast is then posted to YouTube shortly thereafter. Audio versions are also distributed to all the podcast apps. So however you're watching, listening, or absorbing via osmosis this podcast today, thank you. Yes, you.
Every time I do that, it like blurs out my camera. That's great. Thank you all for being here. We do definitely appreciate it. I thank you so much, especially to the people who are hanging out with us here, interacting in chat, live on Twitch. It's always really cool to spend Friday night with all the friends. So very, very much appreciate y'all. Wanted to say another big thank you again to Shokunin as the executive producer of our show. We jokingly refer to him as the patron saint of Wild because he has been supporting us from day one. Helping us, pay for website and giveaways and stuff like that. And this bundle giveaway that he had done recently is just the most generous thing that I've seen in ages. So a big, gigantic thank you to Shakuna, but also to the other patrons of our show. Your support is very helpful, and we really appreciate you. So thank you very much. If anybody is interested in supporting us, there's a couple ways that you can do so absolutely for free. Liking, subscribing, commenting on our stuff on YouTube is very helpful. If you are not aware,
Smash that like button.
God, I hate when people say that.
Especially before the video actually starts.
Oh my gosh, right? Actually, I do want to plug things real quick though, because we haven't posted like a lot of our YouTube content previously is just like it's weekly podcast video, and it's been our listener series cast matches, but. For those of you maybe not aware, we were invited to participate in Hearthstone's theory craft event for Murder at Castle Nathria. So it was last Thursday, July the 21st. And so we got to stream the event for about, 6 hours? We played a whole bunch of decks. And what we did this time was we recorded everything, and it's all been posted to YouTube, separate video for each deck. Tried something a little bit differently to put like a little little quick highlight snippet in the front, and then we explain what the deck is and why we chose the cards that we chose, and then some couple highlight matches. So if you're interested in checking out some of the new cards before they go live next week, or looking for some decks to play, check it out. It's cool. It's free. We make some jokes, and I tried a different format, which I enjoy. We got some positive feedback on it, so yeah, maybe you'll like it as well. Trying to think if there's really anything else. We do have some emotes that you can unlock here on Twitch for free just by following. There's some that you can get by subscribing, which is free if you have Amazon Prime. Some fun emotes, and our merch shop is up. So if you go to our website and click through the stuff, check it out. Look at the, we're all, and I'm wearing this shirt too tonight. It's hey, there we go. Didn't want to stand up. I'm feeling lazy, but anyways, that is enough. Go to our website, borntobewildhs.com. We've got links to all the stuff, and yeah, thank you all for everything. Oh, just to plug the Discord super quick, check it out again on our website, borntobewildhs.com. If you scroll all the way to the bottom, there's links to all of our different social things, but Discord has been an absolute blast. We share our weekly challenge there. Positive experiences pack openings is something that now that there's a new set, you open something cool in the pack, take a screenshot, you share it with us. We share deck lists, we do co-op and all that fun stuff. So if you're interested in interacting with any of us personally, that is where to go. Okay, on with the show. This is new set coming out on Tuesday, Murder at Castle Nathria. And as is tradition here at Born to Be Wild, typically what we would do is the first week of the new set coming out, we'll do a lore episode. But because the Theorycraft stream was on a weird day, we had 2 weeks between the Theorycraft stream and when the new set comes out. It's not exactly 2 weeks, but just shy. It was oh, well, maybe we'll just do the lore episode in advance this time. So anyways, we're doing one. There is so much here that we've broken it down into 2 parts, and I think that this is great because there were a lot of people confused when this set came out. I remember seeing the comments, particularly on Twitter. I know that not everyone is on Twitter, but you'll see characters in this set that are dead elsewhere. Olgra is one of them in particular, and it caused confusion for people, and it was Olgra! Yeah, that one. And so I saw these comments on Twitter wait, is that the same one? And meanwhile they're trying to ship this as a murder mystery, and they're oh, well, if she's actually not dead, then maybe she's it's oh no, sorry, let's rewind. This takes place in the Shadowlands. Oh, well, what's that? Oh, well, that's where they go when they die. What? They don't explain any of this stuff, right? Ahead of time. And so knowing where all of this stuff fits in really, I think, kind of changes the perspective of the story somewhat. Anyways, I don't want to steal Goliath's thunder here, so let's just jump into it. But I wanted to preface that a little bit. So, yeah. This is the lore part 1 of the Shadowlands and Murder at Castle Nathria. I do have a map to start things out that kind of shows, it's a little bit small here, but it shows the different regions, and then we'll get into all of the other stuff, the cosmology and the zones. But without further ado, I'm just going to stop talking and let Goliath do the heavy lifting over here.
All right. So, gotta get my dwarven Loremaster on here. Gather around, everyone. And no, seriously, this is what I'm here for, and I love doing it. Providing the context. It does. In this case in particular, this is based on Warcraft's latest expansion that just wrapped up. There's a new dragon-themed one that's coming out later this year. But the one that just came out, so this is kind of unconventional for Hearthstone. A lot of the time they make themes that delve a bit more into the past, something that's generally at least a couple expansions old or a small part of something. This is a bit unusual that they do something quite so recent as the main theme. So if you haven't been playing World of Warcraft recently, it's understandable that you don't really know what's going on here, because they kind of just made a lot of new stuff up and retconned a lot of things. So there's not a lot from any previous lore that you might know from playing the game or whatnot, where you could assume that it just leads up to this. So this essentially, the Shadowlands, this is, I want to say the afterlife, but it's actually infinite afterlives. It is the realm of death in the cosmology. Looking at the map that Nate has up here on the screen, we're going to be talking about a little bit about each of the areas here. Again, for those of you who are listening via pure audio podcasts, as a reminder for these episodes, we are often very heavily visual here. We have a lot of cards that we're talking about, but we'll do our best to try to describe them so you're not completely missing out here. We do encourage you to watch the visual version, though, if you can. So for a map that Nate has up here on the screen of the Shadowlands, we have in the middle, we have the city of Ouroboros. We have the realms of Bastion, Maldraxes, Revendreth, Ardenweald, and the Maw. And each of these are like a superpower in the realm of death, you might say, but it's actually infinite afterlives because kind of when working with the lore here, and I suppose because every culture in the game, every race or whatnot, they believe something different about what happens when you die, just like, people in the real world do. And so when you're writing the story and you want to explore what does actually happen when people die, I think that the writers kind of didn't want to invalidate like every single culture that they suddenly realize, wow, our whole society and belief system is completely untrue. It's like, can't imagine where the story would go to, as like every race on Azeroth has this complete culture shock, and so what they did was they said that it's all true, that the Shadowlands consists of an infinite amount of afterlives, and souls are sent to one that is deemed appropriate for them based on a multitude of different aspects.
Okay.
And but first, we're going to just pull up a little cosmology chart right here to focus on where the Shadowlands fits in the grand scheme of things. Because we're going big here again. We haven't gone quite this big since we talked about old gods. So right here, we have this pretty little colored chart that is based off of the chart in the Warcraft Chronicle book, which is a official lore book. And basically, right in the middle, you have the physical material plane. And then on either side, you have these parallel planes of existence. On one hand, you have the Emerald Dream. This is the one that's connected with a whole bunch of Druid stuff. Like if you play the Ysera card, you get those Emerald Dream cards. That's the general theming here. And it is basically the realm of life. It's where all that sort of magic comes from. Parallel to that, you have the Shadowlands, which is the inverse. It is the realm of death. And so they are like very opposed, but also very connected together. And that's going to be something that we come back to in a little while. This chart actually here with the cosmology was released all the way back in like 2016. And so we had these blurbs about the Shadowlands and no one knew what they were. And so we were all real excited when an expansion comes along. We finally get to know what the heck these things are.
That's really cool the way they did that.
Oh yeah, they planted seeds of curiosity to get people interested for when it came out years later. And so let's move on to talking about exactly what these areas are.
Yeah, so I've got this little flag looking sort of thing with the 4 different zones. Am I looking at the right thing here?
Just a sec, Yes. So this essentially, there are the 4 covenants that are the rulers of Revendreth. So they're essentially large groups, as I said, sort of the superpowers that are in charge of managing the Shadowlands, and each has a particular role to play. Obviously, as I said, there's infinite afterlives, but these are the four big ones. Each of them is ruled over by a member of what's called the Eternal Ones, who are kind of like the pantheon of death, who were created by the first ones, who are like the gods who created gods. It's kind of like if you know Greek mythology, you have like the gods were the children of the Titans, who were the children of the Primordials. It's kind of that type of thing where Blizzard has decided to kind of since a lot of stuff was explained and they lost a lot of mystique about the superpowers that rule the cosmos, they decided to get that back by having, but what about the superpower beings that created those superpower beings? And so we get a bit more of that mystery back again. But we're going to talk a little bit about each of these four.
Yeah, so we'll be talking about these four different groups and where they fit in, but also there was one in the middle, right, when we were looking at this.
Right, and that's where we're starting here. Because this is where souls first enter the Shadowlands when they die. It is called the Eternal City, Oribos, and it is presided over by a being called the Arbiter. The Arbiter is the only being in the Shadowlands who has the ability to, in an instant, be able to see everything there is to know about a soul, about their history, their moral choices, their beliefs, their culture, just everything. Everything is unbared so that the Arbiter can make the best possible unbiased decision about where this soul deserves to go in the infinite afterlives. Sometimes they are sent to a place that is a bit more of their culture, like with the beliefs. Like I'm sure that orcs are very much about revering their ancestors, and they have a very specific type of place they like to go. So many of them probably go there. But others, it's a bit more of a personality type of thing, which is where we're going to go for some of these. And others, it's the type of magic that you were attuned to in life will take you a certain other place. And so, basically the Arbiter is the one who sends you to wherever it is that you need to go here. But then you might have the question that how do souls get to Oribos? And that is where Bastion comes in, which is the first of the main four realms that we are talking about here. And is also where we're finally going to get to talk about a couple of cards.
Hey.
Bastion doesn't have many cards that are devoted to it, but it does have a couple that we will get to. So, Bastion is the realm of service. It is the place where only the most selfless souls go, those who lived entirely for others. And they are given the sacred duty of carrying souls to the Shadowlands. They're essentially like Valkyries from Norse mythology who would take the slain warriors up to Odin's Hall, except there is a version of an Odin already in Warcraft, and he has his own Valkyr, which he actually, according to lore, he looked into the Shadowlands and saw these beings are called the Kyrian, and he's like, "Ooh, I like that. I'm gonna make my own version of those." So that's where the Valkyrie cards come from. They're basically Odin trying to make copies of the Kyrian that work for him.
That's funny.
Yeah, and the Bastion and the Kyrian are ruled over by the Archon, who's this lady that you see here. She is another one of those eternal ones that we were speaking of, the first of this pantheon of death in the Shadowlands that we're meeting. And they have their own structure. Well, there are various institutions and positions known as paragons that kind of oversee different aspects. Most of the Shadowlands often have a bit of a bureaucratic structure, council advisors, various different versions. We won't go into all the politics of that because we'd be here even longer than forever. But essentially, we do have just a few things to talk about with the way that it works, and that is where our two cards come in. We got a Priest Legendary and a Paladin Legendary, who are representing some of the main parts of Bastion. So let's see, which is our first card we're talking about here?
Pelagos.
Pelagos. All right. So Pelagos is a major character for players in Bastion. He is what is he's an ascendant. He's someone who is working on a path. A soul that wants to become a Kyrian has been determined that it's best for them, but you have to go on various trials in order to be able to really prepare your soul, because the thing is that you can't have any judgment when you're carrying a soul to the afterlife. That's reserved for the arbiter, who knows best about all this stuff. And so you can't have someone who is biased taking a soul and thinking, "Oh, I don't like this one. I'm just gonna throw them into the realm of eternal punishment on my own." And so that's it's part of the process. It's about like a cleansing of negative memories, and at one point they were even that Kyrian had to be cleansed of all of their memories and have no idea of their past lives, which actually created a big rift and a bit of a civil war in Bastion, which is one of the main storylines that you follow in that zone. But eventually they decided to reconcile and allow ascendants to choose whether they wanted to keep their memories or not, which is a lot more fair in my opinion. And so yeah, Pelagos is one of those types of characters. He is a character that within the game you can develop a soul bind with, which is essentially meaning that it's a mechanic where you can choose him, and like he gives you some special powers that you get to use essentially. And for each covenant, there's 3 different characters that you get to use, and he's one of them for Bastion.
Okay.
Fun
It
thing
sounds
about
like
Pelagos,
marriage.
it kind of is in a sense where it is it's the true knowing of each other, but like, you know, everybody's dead, so like it's not really marriage, but it is that extreme closeness about something like marriage and a familial relationship all bound together. But yeah, an interesting thing about Pelagos is that I guess spoilers for anyone who still wanted to complete the end of the Shadowlands story right now. But Pelagos actually ends up becoming the new arbiter after the existing one is kind of rendered non-working through various complicated story aspects that we'll touch on a little bit later when we talk about the dark side of the Shadowlands. But
Okay.
yeah, but basically, at this point in the story, Pelagos is the new arbiter who has the ability to, you know the souls and send them to the right spot. So, pretty major character in the grand cosmological scale of things overall.
Can we
But yes,
and can we briefly talk about, because there's a question in chat here about Bluther.
Oh,
I know we'll
yes.
get to it later, but I know when they were releasing Shadowlands, and prior to that, there was all these like animated trailers, and we've seen Uther like, well, blue with wings, and it was like, oh, what is this now?
That's because Uther was one of those selfless souls who was chosen to go to Bastion. Now, remember what I said about why you have to have an unbiased Kyrian when they're ferrying the souls? Uther is an example of that because he was one of the Kyrian who was ascended before he was ready, and assisted because he was killed by Arthas, after Arthas got corrupted, became a Death Knight and the Lich King and all of that. And, it was a whole student goes evil and betrays the master type of storyline. They're basically kind of an Anakin Obi-Wan thing. But Uther's part of his soul was actually stuck in Frostmourne, and he was kind of divided and not really all there and all right. And out of a kind of confused sense between vengeance and justice, he and his not sure what the right word here, kind of like your mentor in a sense, like his mentor to help him become Kyrian, decided that now we're not going to wait for the arbiter stuff. We're just going to take Arthas' soul and chuck him into the eternal realm of punishment without any actual trial or judgment or anything. So That's kind of, but then later on, like Uther gets healed and regrets that decision and everything. Yes, Uther gets it. But yeah, the blue version of Uther, that is him as a Kyrian.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Sorry for that, but
No problem.
good question. Okay, so we have one other legendary though.
But yeah, I mean, forget about all this grand cosmological stuff and moral dilemmas and all that. We're going to talk about the cute owls, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so here we have Steward the Steward. Steward is, in fact, an actual NPC in World of Warcraft. He's an extremely minor one, but he is one of an entire race. Honestly, I'm not entirely certain why they chose him to kind of represent the stewards instead of one that has a name and is also a bit more involved with the story, because there are others, but maybe they kind of wanted to pick someone who had a name and was more minor because they can play around, as Hearthstone without contradicting anything.
And look at his cute little face. That's why.
Yes. Well, see, all the stewards are these little, owl-like creatures here. And
they all are?
There is an entire race of them in Bastion. They are automatically created from the Anima. Anima is the soul essence and energy that fuels the Shadowlands. Like, everything runs on Anima. The air is saturated with it. Machinery in the realms of death runs on Anima. Anima is just everywhere. It's going to become very important later on.
I was going to say that, and that is, I read a dev post that they almost called the new infuse mechanic Anima instead.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's the idea. When something dies, like, it creates Anima or whatever.
Absorbing that essence, yes.
So instead of Van Halen's Panama, we could do Anima.
Anima. Bum, bum.
Anima. Yeah, I just jotted that down.
Good.
Glorious.
Put that on the list of parody songs, I guess.
So I saw a quest in WoW called Stuart's Stupendous Stew. What is that?
That is where he's from, actually. It's just a smaller quest where he is basically being attacked and you need to help defend him and his stew or something. It's a minor thing in WoW, but it is there, and that is basically his only real appearance as far as I'm currently aware.
So
unless he has cameos in other areas.
Yes. The steward
all the
makes
stewards
stew?
are equally as adorable.
It doesn't get much more perfect than that. That's incredible.
Steward stew, yes. So their whole thing is that they are spontaneously kind of created from the Anima as the caretakers of Bastion. They are a combination of artificers that they build things and the custodians. They help to clean everything up. There's a lot of players in the community who mistakenly get on their high horse and act like they are an enslaved race and this is unfair. It's like, no, it's literally in their nature that they're spontaneously created, not even created by sentient beings for a purpose. They just pop into existence with this innate desire to keep things tidy and stuff. They get depressed if you don't let them do their chores. It actually takes a lot of persuasion. There is literally a place in Bastion that is dedicated to giving the stewards some vacation time, and it takes a lot of convincing to get them to take some time off from their duties and be able to go to a party or just kick back and relax or something. And they are incredibly adorable, as I said. And in fact, if you become a member of Bastion with your character, you get the ability where you can summon your own personal steward that helps you out with things. So if you like him that much, Sheep, if you ever play WoW and you get to Shadowlands, maybe you'll want to have your character join Bastion just so you can have his personal steward.
I would.
Master has presented Dobby with clothes.
Dobby is a free house elf.
Yeah, it's not the whole house elf thing. This is no actual slavery involved, contrary to what many people on social media seem to believe for whatever reason. But yeah, that is basically our look at Bastion. It doesn't get the biggest spotlight in this expansion. Maybe more can be visited either in Miniset or at some other expansion in the long distant future. I never know.
I want a hero portrait. I mean,
Yeah.
can you just imagine the emotes? They'd be great.
Oh yeah,
I can.
Of a Steward. Oh, that'd be fantastic.
All right, so let's talk about location number 2. We're talking now about Maldraxes.
Correct. Now, while Bastion is about, it's dedicated to those who lived lives of service, and they allow basically in reward for your service, you get to keep on doing service for eternity.
Oh my god, that's terrible. The reward for good work is more work. Have you heard that before? Oh, that's...
Yeah.
Yeah,
no.
when you really think about it, it's not the greatest. The assumption with the Arbiter is that only people who are actually really suited to that would be sent there. But so for Maldraxes is a realm of eternal war because it is the afterlife for people who lived for battle and combat, like the people who had, like the Bloodlust who just do not even like it when peace comes. The great warriors who just like, you were fighting all your life. Did you like fighting? Your reward in the afterlife is to spend all of eternity fighting.
Valhalla.
Kind of Valhalla stuff. The goal is that they are the protectors of the Shadowlands who help to protect the Realm of Death from invasions of any other cosmic force. There have been invasions in the past from the Void, for example. There was a time when, we'll get into this particular story more next time talking about Revendreth, but there was a time where there was a bit of provocation and the Lights ended up doing some invasion. And basically if any other force on that cosmological chart that we looked at earlier, if that invades the Shadowlands, the whole point of Maldraxes is that they fend them off and keep it as an independent realm of cosmology. Just like death takes care of death, okay? Just like, don't you guys interfere. But it's divided into several houses that rule over different areas. There's like the House of Eyes, which is all about spying and espionage. The House of Constructs, which is about flesh shaping. Basically, they create like the afterlife version of abominations. And don't ask me how it works with like they're dead, so they're souls, but they have flesh crafting as though we're still alive. Because I don't understand that part, and I don't know if they've actually explained how that works in the lore. But essentially, there's a lot of difference. There's like the House of Plagues, which is focused on like that sort of like the undead cards, like the mad scientists and everything. They're often making plagues. This is like super version of that, and so
Plagued scientist.
Yeah, basically, yes, exactly.
Science!
And that is where those people go when they die, because it is very green there. It's like everyone's fighting in arenas and coming up with new ways to kill each other, and it's not a place that I would ever want to go, but that's the way that works.
So who's the Primus, and let's talk about
And
Primus
is
for
it
a
Les
minute.
Claypool?
Well, the Primus is another one of the Eternal Ones. He is the ruler of Maldraxes, and he created a lot of stuff that has affected people. Actually, the Lich King has the Helm of Domination, and there's all like the runic language that the Death Knights have. You know how there's, if you're on the board from Knights of the Frozen Throne, there's that one area where you can like click and it'll turn like different color runes or something.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
it's a whole thing about Death Knights having runic magic. This guy is the one who invented this stuff. The
Oh.
language of domination. And it's essentially something that they made to punish a being who we'll talk about a little bit later, known as the jailer. But then the jailer was kind of able to take what was his prison and turn it on the world. So the Primus later really regretted having invented domination magic. But yeah, he is the one who created a lot of that stuff initially. And yeah, he is really smart, wise guy. Like for someone who rules over a realm of eternal conflict, he's relatively chill in comparison. Um, and yeah, he was missing for a really long time until you were able to find him in the game and kind of restore him to his former power and everything.
Okay.
But yeah, no, he's a really big ally in the game once you finally do track him down, but he's not in it for a lot of the beginning of it. You just hear about him.
So if this is the realm of war, I suppose that makes sense why there's so many characters who reside here. So we've got four, it looks like four of our class legendaries who are hanging out in Maldraxes. These names are so funny. I think like Jiraxis and Naxxramas and Maldraxes. You face Maldraxes. All right.
Yeah, sorry. It sounds rap worthy. Honestly, a lot of them sound similar enough. You can string them all together for a rapid fire.
Don't tempt me.
Oh, here we go. Another parody song.
Nate's the one who's the better rapper around here than me. So
I quite enjoy it. All right. All right. Well, here's our homeboy Kelthuzad.
Yeah,
Kelthuzad the Inevitable.
So yes, this is representing, as said, we're at a point in Hearthstone where we're used to many different iterations of characters and cards. They're kind of representing different aspects of what they can do or different periods in their story. So I believe we've talked about Kelthuzad before here, haven't we?
Oh, several times.
Our first one was Scholomance. So that was beginning Kelthuzad when he's still like human and everything back at Scholomance Academy. This here is Kelthuzad after he's died like 3 times. So
that's more than two.
I got it! So as a recap, Kelthuzad was initially a human mage turned necromancer who worked for the Lich King. Then he died and was resurrected as a lich by Arthas the Death Knight and the Lich King. So that's death number 1. Then we kill him in the first Naxxramas raid, which of course the very first Hearthstone adventure is based off of, and that's death number 2. But liches have a phylactery, and so unless that phylactery container is destroyed, they can never truly die. And so he comes back in the second version of the Naxxramas raid, which is in Wrath of the Lich King. And then, of course, because it's a raid, he dies again. So that's death number 3. And at this point, his phylactery finally gets destroyed, and he's finally stuck in the Shadowlands. Now, you would think that someone who committed as many crimes as Kelthuzad did would end up in the realm of eternal damnation, which is the Maw, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But he ended up, whether rightly or if there was a little bit of dark manipulation going on there, it's kind of unknown. He ended up in Maldraxes because of his strong conviction, desire to, be able to, create biological weapons and zombies and all that. Basically, like, you're really good at this conflict and trying to beat people type of stuff. So let's put that to use in Maldraxes, was essentially the logic. He became ruler of the House of Rituals, which is all about like summoning and liches and all that sort of thing. And
so that makes
Mhm.
Complete sense with the new card. Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's why he's now resurrecting volatile skeletons.
Exactly. Now he actually is a major antagonist in Shadowlands because he allies with some of the other more villainous people,
Big shocker
including.
there.
Yeah, exactly. So he is a raid boss again in Shadowlands, where he's finally killed for good, and he's like, "How is the power of death not answering me this time?" He's just like in complete disbelief that he doesn't get it. He's used to getting another shot every time he dies. So, yeah, this is that's why he's like, I am inevitable. I'm always going to come back. Well, you get to the point where he's not coming back again. But yeah, this is really, and it makes sense. Again, he was initially a mage in life, and he often is, ice themed about things, and so it makes sense they make him a mage legendary here. Moving on then, who is our next one? We are talking about
Drakka.
Drakka. Yes, Drakka. So, here's an
Hey, I opened Drakka in gold.
Nice. Do you know who Drakka is?
Not yet.
Drakka is Thrall's mom.
Whoa.
Yeah. So,
I was gonna say, wasn't she in that Warcraft movie?
Yes, exactly. Hey,
I-
I'm impressed that you remember some of those orc names from the Warcraft movie. But yeah, Durotan and Drakka were Thrall's parents, and they actually died while trying to protect Thrall from assassins that were sent by Gul'dan, because they were opposing the whole orc should, embrace the fell magic thing. And so Gul'dan sent assassins to take them all out. They missed little baby Thrall there, which is how he ended up getting found by a human and adopted, and that whole story started. But because Drakka died defending her child, when her soul went to the afterlife, she still had that fighting spirit. Like, she just wasn't done fighting. And so she ended up going to Maldraxes and became the assistant, eventually person in charge of the House of I. So she was all about the espionage, and that's why she's a rogue card right here, because she had that sort of vanish in the shadows and stab with the daggers type of thing. And then eventually, her house actually got sabotaged because Kelthuzad, as part of his manipulations, turned the houses against each other in order to, I will rule Maldraxes type of thing.
Rude.
Or take its power from my master and all of that. But Drakka managed to survive and joined another group called the House of the Chosen. And she is one of your principal allies and guides through Maldraxes when you play in the Shadowlands. So again, very major character. She's actually the Baroness of the House of the Chosen, one of the key rulers of that faction. So yeah, she's pretty big over in Maldraxes. She has a lot of pull.
Oh, very cool. Well, and big character too. Thrall's mom. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Huge.
Did you just say, oh yeah?
Oh yeah.
Oh.
All right. We have another very memorable character here that we've seen many times, especially lately. So, Lady Vosh is now Baroness Vosh and has made a comeback. We've seen Vosh so many times now, between like all of the crazy shenanigans with Illidan and Outland, and then all of the stuff with the Naga, and seen her transformation from the Night Elf into this Naga, and like she has been all around everywhere. So how now did she wind up here, and what is her new role?
Yes. Yep, we get Vosh, and again, this is one of those cases where, as you mentioned, there are characters here who are dead elsewhere. This is why we get to see them. It is interesting when you get to see the characters, some of which, because she was a raid boss, you killed. and then you run into their souls later on in the afterlife.
Like,
Funny thing is
not
that
you again.
she has different dialogue depending on whether you completed the raid that killed her or not. So it's like,
That's cool.
we meet again. Or if you didn't play through that, you're like, what's your story? And she gives a brief summary or something. But yeah, so Vosh is actually so initially, like I said, that Drakka is now the Baroness of the House of the Chosen, but she was initially Baroness of the House of Eyes, which, as I said, was all about the spying. Every house has two barons or baronesses, and Vosh is the other one.
Oh.
So she is the other surviving Baroness of Eyes who doesn't really have much of a house to rule over. But since they're all about the spying, many of the souls that are in Maldraxes that are about the spying take on this spider-like form, which would have been really cool if we ever got a card with depicting those types of things. But yeah, basically, she is a master of espionage in the realm of eternal battle and death. And again, it's like it was, kind of her thing when she was alive, managing forces for Illidan, for Queen Ajara when she served her, and all of that. So to just, it's like when you have that one skill set that you've made it really far in a career and there's not really anywhere else you can reasonably go.
You're
Nate's
describing
nodding, knowing.
You're describing me right now, for good or for bad.
And so basically that's kind of what happens to her at death. She's like, well, this is what I'm good at. I'm just going to keep on. And she works her way up the ranks. And yeah, she is an ally, although a reluctant one. Yeah, it's actually a lot of the ones that you kill. There is sometimes a let bygones be bygones. Sure, you killed me in life, but we're trying to prevent all of existence falling apart right now. So whatever. So she's not actually overtly hostile. She just kind of needs you to prove yourself to prove that that you're worth her putting some resources and effort behind. But yeah, Baroness Vosh. And of course, it makes sense that she is Shaman Legendary, seeing as they made her initial card in Ashes of Outland to be Shaman. I wouldn't say that the character herself is a shaman, but the types of elemental magic that Naga often wield, it lends itself to the flavor, and Hearthstone needs a character for every class. So I don't blame them at all for putting her like that.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Okay,
And
so
then-
our next one, I think, caused a little bit of confusion for people early on when this was first revealed, which is great, I think, for us to be covering, initially what the Shadowlands are before we get into the characters. And so this next one is Ogra!
Yes. So, we've already touched on the story of Olgra back when we talked about the Baron's cards, but as a recap, Olgra is essentially almost more of a meme than anything in the community because it comes from this one just basic quest in the Barons of the Orc Mankrik, who, is the card that got us all talking about this in Hearthstone in the first place.
Help me find
who-
my wife.
Yes, who asks you to help find her. And then as a refresher, what got the quest rather famous and memeable was that it was in the Barrens, which back then was this really huge zone that later got split into a northern and a southern Barrens. But so in this huge zone, back then there were no quest markers. So people were looking all over to find Olgra, and it became like the thing that everyone was talking about in the game chat in the Baron zone. And so that's how it became so famous. It's this thing that you finally find her body. It's not obvious at all. And so the quest was kind of infamous for that. And so it turns out that she was killed by a bunch of Quillbore. You go back to Mankrik. He gets all mad, tells you to kill a bunch of Quillbore in vengeance. And he has like a funeral pyre for her or whatnot. And so they decided for Shadowlands, while they're exploring, you know, what happened to some of those characters who died in various ways, whether we killed them or they died in our arms or whatever. They decided, what the heck, let's throw an Easter egg about Olgra. And so, since she is another one who went down fighting against those Quillbore, then they decided to send
Another one.
her soul to Maldraxes as well. What was that?
Another one.
Who died fighting?
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yes.
Her
And so, yeah, no real fantasy story. She doesn't really have a large role to play in the game, but she's a fun Easter egg. And so it makes sense they would choose to bring it full circle here in Hearthstone, since they took the original Ogre meme, turned it into a card that everybody knows at this point. To like, hey, let's just show what happened to her. So for everyone who was confused about Olgra, that's why she's here. This is her super powered dead Realm of the Dead warrior version.
her diamond card is really cool, by the way.
Kicking
Like
rad,
goes out swinging.
Oh yeah, big time. It's
Uh-huh.
very neat. I like it, and yeah, it's kind of fun when they make a meme and you know, come full circle with it. So
Yeah.
all right, so we now have covered the Bastion and Maldraxes, and it looks like we're moving on to the Ardenweald.
Correct. So Ardenweald is the realm of nature in the Shadowlands. It is actually very strongly linked to the Emerald Dream, which, as we mentioned before, they are essentially two sides of the same coin, because Ardenweald is all about the cycle of life and death in nature. If it's kind of like the Emerald Dream is spring and summer,
Mhm.
Ardenweald is like fall and winter. It's like the natural cycle of seasons. You have death and life and rebirth. Ardenweald is where souls go who are very, very strongly connected to nature, particularly wild gods and Loa. So, you know, remember all those Loa cards that we got back
Yeah.
in Rastakan's Rumble? All of those ones that are uh, animals? This is where they go, and why they can't really be truly killed, because eventually they come back. In fact, as we're going to touch into a little bit with one of the cards, this is where wild seeds come in. It's where the souls go until they have matured for a while, absorbed enough anima, and then they are ready to spend some time in the afterlife until it's time to return to the mortal plane. It
Real
is.
quick digression. Right after Rastakhan's Rumble came out, and we learned all about the Loa, and that was really cool. Whenever you guided us through so much of that. Right after that, I went to New Orleans and went on a history tour. And the Loa were like a thing that they were telling us all about right then. So that was really cool to like connect those
Yeah.
two. So I
In
know that
fact,
we just touched
Juan
base on the Loa,
Samdi is
but
based very heavily on Baron Samdi, and it's kind of the similar attitude. There's the love of death, but there's a bit of the fun trickster element in there as well.
yeah,
And yeah, it actually Buon Samdi, the gate to his personal world of the other side, which is where the troll spirits go. As I said, sometimes it's your race as well. Buon Samdi is the Loa of death. He particularly takes care of troll spirits.
cool.
And the gate to that is actually in Ardenweald. And there is a dungeon called The Other Side, where you're helping Buon Samdi to help address a more nasty Loa of death, known as Muzala, who was the previous Loa before Buon Samdi took on the role. So yeah, that's there's a connection with Ardenweald right there too.
Cool.
And it's ruled over by this lovely lady who we have up here, the Winter Queen, who is actually the sister of Elune, the moon goddess
Oh.
worshipped by the Night Elves. Again, and Elune has a strong connection with the Emerald Dream. So again, we have the cycle and the synergy. And so this is the sort of thing that very powerful druids will often, have a connection with as well. And so moving on to our two legendaries who are featured characters in Ardenweald. Let's see, which is our first one?
First up is Cecily.
Yeah.
Yes. So Cecily here is a member of a tree-like race that is known as the Turnian. I think that's how you pronounce it. They kind of purposefully created the language and names of this race to be kind of unpronounceable, to kind of represent just how foreign they are to our minds, our senses, and it's kind of it's another thing that's rather Entish inspired from Lord of the Rings. Like, they have their big long language that takes forever to say and they're never hasty. It's kind of like that
Yeah.
with the way that their names work here. But they are tree-like race named Artenweald. They are a member of a group of various creatures that are collectively called the Fae Court, the Night Fae. They are generally friendly. They're quiet, thoughtful, as I said, very Ent inspired, where they're slow to anger, but they are a terror on the battlefield if you manage to get them angry, which takes a lot of effort because they can shape the land. In fact, that's one of their principal jobs in Ardenweald, is that they help to shape the world through, like, raising roots and rocks and all of that stuff. So that they are essentially like the native caretakers of the world. They are so ancient and so incomprehensible that even other members of the Fae court, we're talking like other relatively eternal supernatural beings who live in the realm of death, even some of them don't understand these guys at all.
Cool.
Very
Wow.
enigmatic there. And this is a particular one that does exist in the game. There's no particular story behind this individual. It's more just like a representative of the race, just one who gives a few quests and is in a certain area near a flight path or whatnot. Kind of like Steward, just like kind of representing that these guys exist. And this is a minor character that there's not really much we can contradict here. So we're just going to have some fun with it for
Nice.
Hearthstone.
I think that the devs on Twitter actually said that they chose Cecily specifically because it was the most pronounceable of
That's hilarious.
of the race.
Let's make it easy on everybody.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, like some of them, it's like the sound is almost like the sound of a twig snapping or something with the way that it's written out. I'd have to look up to see some of them, but yeah, there are some crazy impronounceable ones there, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Our other one here in the Ardenweald is Arlon.
Yeah, so Arlon is a guy who we actually do have a story for. He is, again, another member of the Night Fae, known as a Sylvian. They're sort of like satyr, like they are, humanoids with hooves and antlers and such. And he is a tender of a grove. So Ardenweald consists of lots of small groves of trees where the wild seeds are nurtured. Again, like you have a soul of, say, a powerful Loa or another wild god. This is the sort of people like Cenarius would come here. Just like all of them. They would be in these wild seeds. And it is the job of a grove tender like Arlon to help make sure that they are protected, that they are nourished with anima, because because it's possible to die in the Shadowlands, and like the type of death where like you just don't exist anymore at all. You're just anima scattered to the wind. There's no afterlife after the afterlife or anything. So again, that's why being someplace like Maldraxes actually has risks.
Mm-hmm.
But in Ardenweald here, it's about taking care of it. There's a little problem for our buddy here though, because one of the things that's a story within the Shadowlands expansion is that there's this mysterious anima drought. So, like I said, anima is normally everywhere. It's saturating the air. All the souls are just kind of bringing it. but there's this drought, and Anima is a very scarce source. And so Arlon here is forced to make a choice about whether to tend his grove or whether to sacrifice it for the greater good and the wild seeds that are in there, because some of the groves have to be culled in order to preserve mana for for the greater good, for other ones. And so it's this hard decision that a lot of the Night Fae have to make, and he ends up joining the Wild Hunt in order to try to, which is the group here. It's not like the Wild Hunt in mythology, which is like the army of ghosts led by Odin that marches on Halloween, or like in The Witcher 3 or anything, which are really cool, but that's not what they are here. Here it's just this army of the Night Fae who are working to defend Ardenweald and have to make the difficult decision about where does the limited anima go.
That's
Now,
really
thankfully, yeah.
Because he actually abandoned his grove and joined the Wild Hunt is probably why I was thinking, first, Tender of the Grove sounds like a druid card. Fact that he makes that tough
Literally the
decision
hunt.
is why he is not a druid card
He's a
in
hunter
practice
card,
here. Yeah, that's
Interesting.
cool.
Exactly.
Well, the other piece that is really cool is like that explains why the wild seeds start out dormant,
Yeah.
Mhm.
right? Because they're like in their seed like dormant stage, and they have to.
Oh, that makes sense.
Right? That's really
Exactly. And here's a fun fact. One during the quest here, you are entrusted, your character, you kind of make a bond with this one particular wild seed, and you're entrusted with caring for it and giving it some anima in order to survive. And it almost doesn't make it, but you manage to get an audience with the Winter Queen at last, which is kind of your entire quest throughout all of Ardenweald. You're just trying to catch up with the Winter Queen, but she's so busy with all of her duties, you keep on missing her and everything because you need her help with the grander Shadowlands storyline. But eventually you're able to get it to her, and she is able to help save the seed. And who pops out? It's Ysera. Because Ysera was killed back in stuff involving the Burning Legion and the Emerald Nightmare way back in the Legion expansion. And like all things connected to the Emerald Dream, she went to become a wild seed. And then, so now at this point in the story, she is connected and basically can't leave Ardenweald. And so that's where she resides now. So actually, one of the Battlegrounds skins for Ysera is like a version of her in Ardenweald, if I remember correctly. So yes, I love the alternate skins for Battlegrounds. There's so many cool things.
there's
And
so many good ones. I wish that we could
I
use
can't
them.
afford them all, unfortunately. But no, I did spring for the dragon ones that came out though, because that was really neat, and the Shadowlands ones.
And
Oh, wait, there's more.
There's several that I really like the themes of.
Understandable. They're kicking red.
Oh yeah.
But at any rate, yeah. So it's feasibly possible that we could get another version of Ysera at some point that is like Ysera, Warden of Ardenweald or something, and they could have done. Who knows? That there's lots of directions people could go for mini sets, and so there's a whole lot of Shadowlands characters that have played major roles that are not cards here. Ones we're talking about today, and ones that we're going to save till later. But yeah, so Ysera has a thing here, and it's possible at some point in the future we could get a card reflecting that.
Cool.
Very cool. Well, I think we're going to take a brief detour. Call it an intermission, if you will.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, speaking of druids and the Emerald Dream and all the connections between that, happens to work out quite well with the song that I cooked up for this week, actually, and with Sheep having just recently the deck that you got Legend in, correct?
Absolutely. Yeah, that Cthulhu the Shattered Druid runs our very own Guff, the hero portrait, or the hero card. So,
without further ado,
So good, so good.
I have not heard this yet.
Oh well, you're in
so
for
good.
a treat.
Right? Okay. All right, here it goes. Here it goes.
Got the magic Toron, beloved and adored. He frolicked playing with his friends in a land called Kalimdor. All the Hearthstone players loved that druid Goth for raising mana caps so high and giving nature buffs. Oh, Goth, the magic Toron, beloved and adored. He frolicked playing with his friends in a land called Kalimdor. Goth, the magic Toron, beloved and adored. He frolicked playing with his friends in a land called Kalimdor. With his friends he traveled, rebuffing all attacks, from Barrens down to Stormwind and at last to Alterac. They fought and beat a dragon and made a Naru whole, with elves, a human dwarf unknown, a Draenei orc and troll. Oh, Goth, the magic Toron, beloved and adored. He frolicked playing with his friends in a land called Kalimdor. Goth, the magic Toron, beloved and adored. He frolicked playing with his friends in a land called Kalimdor. A story lives forever, but cards go out of style. And soon enough a good friend Coffee rotates into wild. But friends can always visit, returning there to play. So Goth, that friendly druid, will not ever fade away. He'll always have his love for squirrels, always protect his friends. Always promote all life and growth with card draw mana blends. As hero, minion, or quest line, his synergies expand. Trees or creature, alliance, horde, he'll always lend a hand. Oh, Goth, the magic Torin, beloved and adored. He frolicked playing with his friends in a land called Kalimdor. Goth, the magic Torin, beloved and adored. He frolicked playing with his friends in a land called Kalimdor.
Holy Peter, Paul, and Mary, that was good.
Very nice. Very
Funny,
nice.
I got the idea for this one because when I was doing the Druid song a while back, then I stumbled on a Peter, Paul, and Mary version of it on YouTube, and that led me to Goth. I'm like, oh yeah, that one would work really well with a similar theme. So I just
That's
made both.
great. Well done.
Nice.
Thank
I
you.
love it.
Instant classic. I love it.
Very nice.
Speaking of things that people love, let me tell you that the next one, Covenant, that we're talking about here is my personal favorite. This is the one that I had my main character join in Shadowlands because I absolutely love the aesthetic, and it's the main one that we're focusing on in the set, which is, if you had to pick one to focus on in the set, I'm really stoked that they decided to talk about Revendreth. So, Revendreth is essentially, it's a bit of a purgatorial realm here. So the Maw is the realm of eternal damnation where the absolute worst of the worst go. But Revendreth is a chance for people to avoid getting thrown into the maw by atoning for their sins. A lot of the time, it's about getting that pesky pride off of them that, when you're really proud of something and you refuse to admit that you've done anything wrong, that's kind of the first step in being able to cleanse prideful souls so that they can finally say, hey, I was wrong to commit absolute genocides, and maybe I should, try to atone for that or something. Like it takes a lot to get those souls to have a chance of doing that. But the ones who are up to the task are Sire Denathrius and the race that he created in his own image called the Venthyr. And the whole place just has this awesome, like gothic, vampiric, Castlevania
Right.
aesthetic
It's so
that I just
Castlevania.
love. Yes, it is amazing. And so, yeah, they are focused on the purging of sin and harvesting anima through it. They're masters of anima extraction. That's generally the therapy that is used to motivate the souls to, maybe not think quite so highly of themselves. They're put through many different forms of learning humility, like being hunted through this forest and everything. Remember, it's only like people who've done really messed up stuff who go here in the first place. So theoretically, it's all for their own good. However, Denathrius kind of fell to the dark side at some unknown points in time. And remember, I mentioned there was an anima drought that was going on? He kind of artificially caused that by hoarding all of the anima for himself and pretending that there's just this scarcity. And because it's all part of his bigger plan and allying with the jailer down in the maw. Because what Denathrius wants is to free the jailer from his imprisonment down in the maw, and together they will conquer, reshape all of reality to where death is the only power that matters. And you know what's even crazier? Denathrius is responsible for indirectly the creation of the Burning Legion.
What?
Okay, so
Please explain.
so you may recall that the Burning Legion was created by the fallen titan Sargeras after he had this whole run-in about learning about an old god-infested world and freaking out and deciding that it's better to just burn away all of creation, to burn away all corruption, and maybe it'll grow back someday. But a dead universe is better than a corrupted one. The thing is that Sargeras was influenced to discover that old god infested world that freaked him out so much, and first learned about the void from the Dreadlords, the Nathrazim, who were initially created by Sire Denathrius, as the race of the ultimate infiltrators. I kid you not. He had this whole 4D chess game about the Nathrazim first provoking a fight with the light. As I said, there was the time where the light came in and invaded the Shadowlands. That was because they discovered that the Nathrazim had been sent to infiltrate and spy and sabotage them, so they've retaliated. Because of this, in order to appease the light, the Nathrazim were exiled from the Shadowlands. But that was all part of the plan, because then they ended up getting exiled into the material plane, having their own planet and everything, and then kind of getting to the Fel, becoming demons, and influencing Sargeras to have the whole Burning Legion. Basically, all of that stuff was ultimately all a part of Denathrius's plan. He is like ultimate 4D cosmic chess here. And he's
So
also
he thinks big.
Yes. I should
It
point
sounds
out
like the plot of an Ocean's 11, Ocean's 12
Mhm.
movie.
he's also voiced by Matt Mercer. So
That'll do it.
yes. But yeah, so talking about some of the characters here, we of course have Sire Denathrius himself, who is our big. I would say he's the poster boy, but he's more like the painting boy of the expansion here.
Right.
Uh, and
I get what you did there.
we literally have a card that's eerie painting, where it's like a picture of himself and everything. But then we also have one of our warrior legendaries, who is his sentient flying sword named Remora. And yeah, this animated sentient weapons thing is just a thing that Venthyr have. They're actually all over Revendreth, but his is particularly powerful, and Remora is bloodthirsty. Like, I don't know whether she was initially like that from her creation or whether it just rubbed off from being around Sire Denathria so long, but she's like, oh, master, please let me cut them to ribbons. And she just like revels in it all. And so, yeah, it's a weapon that's a character as well. And I think it's really clever how they did that by translating into the mechanics of it being both a weapon that you wield and a minion. It's like, a character on the board and everything.
Well, and
then
I was gonna say I heard that Renathal had one as well, but if you say all
yes.
of Venthyr have them, then maybe
well, not all of them do, but there are other ones that exist.
Okay.
They're probably not as powerful, but yes, Prince Renathal has one, and unfortunately, her name is slipping my mind at the moment.
I'll look it up while you're looking. But we will get. So we're not going to cover too deeply some of, I think, the Revendreth characters and cards. Like, I think the plan was to save some of that for the next part.
Right. So we're just doing a brief overview of Revendreth for the sake of giving a complete map of the Shadowland powers here to provide a good backdrop for when we go into all this later on. So all you need to know now about Renathal is that he knows that Denathrius is up to no good, and he's actually one of the original Venthyr who was first created by Denathrius. There's actually many Venthyr who are souls that after they completed their reform, that they have the choice of moving on to another afterlife or staying and becoming a Venthyr themselves to help other souls. And there are many who are like that, but Renathal is one of the original ones. It was like you might almost say he's like Denathrius's oldest son in that sense. And so it's the kind of that classic story of the more virtuous. It's basic. I mentioned this to Nate a day or two ago. It's basically the Castlevania Alucard story, where you have the more virtuous vampire-like character who is using his powers against his father, who is kind of like Denathrius is a little like Dracula in this case. And so
Nice.
that's essentially all you need to know about these guys right now. Stay tuned for part 2 for more details.
The sword, by the way, is Vorpalia.
Vorpalia, yep. Probably named after the Vorpal blade from the famous Jabberwock, which, of course, we have our Shudderwock and the Bandersmosh cards.
Right, yeah. Love it.
Maybe we'll get her at some point. Who knows?
Hey. Okay, so you were talking about the Maw, and I'm gonna cut back very briefly to the map of this whole thing. And so you talked about these locations. So the Maw you mentioned is the one where the bad people go, right?
Yes, the unrepentant worst of the worst are the ones who are supposed to be sent to the Maw.
They all try to escape all the time.
Well, the Maw is designed that no one ever escapes it.
Oh.
In fact, the jailer who is there, who I initially mentioned, the Primus created the language magic of domination to exile him there. He was actually, his real name is Zovald, and he was the original arbiter. But so back when all things started, he was the one who decided which souls went where. But he became obsessed with gaining ultimate control and remaking reality for, again, kind of similar to Sargeras, what he saw as like this broken universe that can't survive the greater threat or whatnot. And the type of person who becomes obsessed, it doesn't matter how many people I have to force into eternal suffering, I must fix the universe. And so all of the other eternal ones who rule these other areas that we just talked about turned on him and exiled him down into the Maw. Although some of them are wondering if Denathrius might have even been working with him back then. There's little hints where he says things like, "You could have shown another way. There's so much we could have done together." And you don't know if there's a little double speak there or whatnot. They're like, "I was with you all along. You
Oh.
blew with a cover. I'm keeping my cover here." But yeah, and so
Oh.
what happens is that the Arbiter gets broken, like because they made a new one after Zoval was exiled, and so because of all that, every soul is going down into the Maw.
Uh-oh.
The innocent and the guilty alike. That is the big thing that you're trying to fix and stop the jailer. That's the reason that your character goes to the Shadowlands in the first place. And so
I
all
did.
of those souls are making the jailer stronger and the Maw more powerful.
I see. I forget. Sorry, before we get too deep into that, I forgot we had a couple other things from Revendreth, the Countess, the Harvester, the Stone Knight.
Yes.
I apologize. I skipped ahead a little bit.
Yeah, so what's all tied together? Because as I mentioned, there are Venthyr that Sire Denathrius created, and then there are others who have kind of taken on other roles. It essentially has a council of ones. As I said, there's bureaucracies and stuff for all of these different factions here, but these minions are some of the ones who are entrusted with a portion of power. Every one of them is given a medallion that is like their badge of office, and as Denathrius's power infused right into it. And so the Countess, the Harvester of Endy, and the Stonewright are all members who have those official positions. And so they are players who cannot either become allies, enemies, or somewhere in between during the story where you're working to overthrow Denathrius. Because there's some who are fanatically loyal to him and who you have to remove and find replacements to fill the office. And there are others who you convert to become allies. But yeah, that's something that will go more into individually their stories, whether there's a lot or little to talk about. Again, that'll be a part of our deep dive into Revendreth and the Castle Nathria raid that a lot of these bosses are based on.
Cool. And then the last thing I have here is the Stoneborn General in terms of Revendreth.
Right. Yes, that is something that's important to know. Again, we'll go more into it later, but uh, just a bit of explanation about the stone ride and stuff. So basically, you got this whole gargoyle aesthetic where they create these soldiers out of stone and infuse them, bring them to life with anima. Again, anima is used for everything here. So that is just where all of them come in. They play a very key role, both, some are allies, some are enemies, in your quests in Revendreth. And yeah, that's essentially the rule that these cards are here for. There's a few of them, so I figured it would be good to get that explanation taken care of first, in case people are wondering what's with all the gargoyles.
It's very
It
Castlevania.
sounds,
Yes.
yeah. It sounds like a lot of the characters in the Shadowlands are animaniacs.
Oh,
There's zany
gosh.
to the max.
That
There's
was good. That was good.
baloney in our sex.
I wonder if there's karaoke of that song.
Oh, I'm sure.
There's no way there isn't.
Anyway, we have a few more things to talk about. We're almost at the end here for our very brief overview of the Shadowlands, but there's a few outlier visitor races that have come along here. They are the Brokers and the Devourers. and they don't really necessarily belong in the Shadowlands. They come from outside areas, but they're here anyway.
All right, so
So
here's the brokers up first.
right. And so the brokers are from just an entirely different realm of existence. They are not native to the Shadowlands at all, but they just traverse the cosmos and multiverse and whatnot type of things. They are like the extreme, like you know how goblins are obsessed with everything being for profit and stuff.
Right.
Brokers are goblins on steroids,
Ha.
cosmically. So yeah, they're all about like acquiring everything. They are much like, the goblins are divided into their cartels. There are like the different, trading groups and everything. It's even a part of their name. The trading clan that they're from is so let's see, what is this particular's name again?
This is Artificer
Artificer.
Zymox, if I'm pronouncing that
Right.
right.
And so that Zymox part, I believe in his case it's the Zy. He's from Cartel Zy. And that's the part of their name there. So it's always that some part of the name indicates what cartel they are with. Um, and so we'll go more into this guy specifically later on. He is a raid boss in two raids actually in the Shadowlands, including Castle Nathria. And the whole thing with the relic cards, it all plays into there actually. But we're not going to get into that now. All you need to know now is that the brokers are the characters who are essentially, they're all the vendors in Oribos because most citizens of the Shadowlands have no concept of trading with like mortal money and everything. And so the brokers are like, oh, we know all about that. We're happy to be the ones that you buy all your crafting supplies from and repair your gear and send you on quests in order to get things that we'll pay you for. And they basically fulfill all of those functions because no one else in the Shadowlands, these cosmic beings, don't really understand that. They also teach you all your crafting skills. Because like, why would people in the Shadowlands, when they're souls, know about tailoring? So yeah, they just fulfill all of those goals there, those game services. And they can be antagonists or they can be really useful, but the Devourers are nothing but antagonists here. These guys are literally just gorging themselves on anima. They just flip in from some parts unknown to through tears in reality, and as though the anima drought caused by all the souls going to the Maw, Nathrius hiding all of the mana wasn't bad enough. These guys come and they just consume everything. And so there's a few areas in almost every zone, I think. Maybe not Maldraxes, I can't remember, but where there's some areas that are just infested with these anima gorgers, and you have to fend them off in various different ways because they are in a world where everything runs on anima and all the souls are made of anima. And if you die here, you're just anima and you don't come back. These guys are extremely dangerous. And so there's a few cards. Again, we also have a legendary that is another raid boss that we'll talk about later on in the sequel to this episode. But yeah, that is the deal with these guys. So the few cards, if you're wondering what those are, they don't belong here either, but they are here. And I think that is about all the main cards
I
for us to
think
talk
that's
about.
the main cards, but we were gonna get into the class spells a little bit.
Right. So, something that is really cool that I appreciate that they did. So, something, and this is something I'm actually thinking of maybe writing a lore guide about at some point, that a lot of class spell cards in Hearthstone are the names of spells that either currently or at some point are class spells in World of Warcraft. Like things like Ritual of Doom as a warlock. That's an actual spell. It's an ability that you have as a warlock. Just pulling off the top of my head there.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But in Shadowlands, Every class has a different unique ability you get depending on which of the four covenants you choose to join. Because yeah, there's this fun part where you do like a general story quest through all of them, but then you choose one that you're going to specifically work for. You get some exclusive quests experiencing on that character that you don't get on other characters to join other factions. You get some cool exclusive armor that's all themed off of it, which is honestly one of the main reasons my character joined Revendreth, because I just wanted the really, really cool armor.
It's a valid reason.
Exactly.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Thank you. I'm glad you think so. But yeah, so what they did here is for each of the classes in Hearthstone, they chose a spell to represent one of the Covenant abilities that you get. Now, it's not representing all of them, of course, because every class has 4 different ones, but all of these are actual real life abilities that you get depending on which Covenant you choose to join with that class. So let's see, what are some of the examples that we have here?
The Demon Hunter has a Sinful Brand, which says it's a Demon Hunter Venthyr ability.
Mm-hmm.
Druid has Convoke the Spirits, which is a Druid Night Fae ability. The Hunter has Wild Spirits, which is a Hunter Night Fae ability. A Mage has Deathborn, which is a Mage Necrolord ability. Paladin has Divine Toll, which is a Paladin Kyrian ability. Priest has Boon of the Ascended, which is a Priest Kyrian ability. Shaman has Primordial Wave, which is a Shaman Necrolord ability. Rogue has Serrated Bone Spike, which is a Rogue Necrolord ability. Warrior has Conqueror's Banner, which is a Warrior Necrolord ability. And finally, the Warlock has Impending Catastrophe, which is a Warlock Venthyr ability.
Oh yeah. Don't think that the puns are reserved to Hearthstone alone. WoW gets on that as well.
Oh,
the imp puns are everywhere.
Impending Catastrophe? Yeah, that's pretty funny.
Mm-hmm. And
It
so
is
yeah, I just think
is
that's so cool that
quite
they
impressive.
mm-hmm. Yes. And it's quite inevitable too.
I love that the warrior legendary characters are in the art for these spells also. So you can, I mean, if you look at them, you can see them in the background, which is pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we get the same with a lot of it's like, Pelagos is priest legendary, and he's in this card here for the priest, a
I love it.
covenant spell.
I
So
love it. Yeah.
yeah, no, it's great. And then one other thing that we wanted to talk about a little bit are just explaining some of the hero skins that have come out and are coming out that are very Shadowlands themed.
Yeah, so here's let's do the old ones first. So these are already
Sure.
out, right? So we've got this was a bundle, I believe, or you could probably buy them individually. So there was a Demon Hunter, Druid, Paladin, and Warlock skins. This is where you get the Bluther skin, which
Yes.
is Shadowlands version we talked about earlier in the show.
Right.
Luther gets it.
Yes, and that is the only one that's actually like an actual thing that happened in the story. So that's accurately depicting, Uther as a Kyrian. The other 3 here are just continuing the Hearthstone fun what if scenario. So there is no Illidan as a Venthyr.
Is that
Malfurion.
what he's supposed to be there? Event theory?
Yes.
That makes
Yeah,
sense.
there's one representing each of the covenants there. So you have the Venthyr Illidan, and so you have the House of Rituals Gul'dan. I love the description there. It's like, unwilling to repent for all of his wicked deeds after death, Gul'dan just decided to continue doing more of them. House of Rituals is the one
That's
that
great.
Kelthuzad is in charge of, so, they're cool with him doing all the wicked stuff. And then the one for Ardenweald is a Malfurion. Obviously, Malfurion is not dead yet in the story. Odds are he probably would go someplace like Ardenweald. But for this art, it's just the what if they kind of meshed Malfurion with the Winter Queen aesthetic there.
I love it. That's one of my favorite skins, actually. It's super cool.
Yeah, I do I'd love to get a hold of the Bluther and the House of Rituals Gul'dan. like I love collecting versions of Gul'dan for some reason, and that was just really creepy and really cool.
I love it. All right, so here's some new ones, though, and I don't know anything about these. So first up is Garrosh. This is one of the brand new ones. So
Yeah,
Garrosh the Chained.
This is the main one that I wanted to talk about, in fact, because this one is actually a key part of the story that we haven't touched on. So, as I said, in Revendreth, they extract the anima from the prideful, the unrepentant souls. And
Sounds like Garrosh.
yes,
It
here's the thing.
does.
While the drought is going on, they literally describe Garrosh as a reliable workhorse because he is so filled with pride and the refusal to ever admit that his genocide was wrong that he is just this constant anima farm that they just keep chained up and torture the anima out of him, and he just keeps producing it more and more because he just has an endless pride and ego, and so much self-righteousness about orc supremacy and whatnot. So,
Oh,
uh,
Garrosh.
yeah, and he doesn't repent ever. Like
Oh, no.
you see him go out in a raid while he's being tortured in the maw, and his final words are that and not that coward thrall, as like he
Wow.
goes out completely. No,
Never change, Garrosh. Never change.
some people
He won't.
complain. Some people complain in Warcraft. It's like, oh, all the villains get redemptions and everything. That's not realistic. Well, here's Garrosh for you guys. He went out completely no longer existing, very consistent, not repenting once. You got what you wanted.
That's
There's a
pretty
villain
funny.
that's like that. So yeah, that's representing him in his, like, you see the anima just being leeched off of him in the portrait there.
Yeah. In game it animates too. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. So that's the main one to talk about. But then we have some nice alternate depictions with two other hero cards. We have a Kelthuzad, who you'll see he has like a little slime kitty right there. I'm pretty sure that's a reference to like the Mr. Bigglesworth and whatnot.
Yeah.
What's the name
and
for it though? They have a name
yeah,
for it.
so there's an alternate Mr. Bigglesworth skin for Battlegrounds for that one, and they call him I think it's Jigglesworth.
Let me jiggle.
Yeah, so actually, the slime constructs are actually a thing in the Maldraxes. They're made by the House of Plagues, and yeah, they are like, you have the bones and like little cat ones actually exist in the game.
What?
Yeah, that's a thing. So entirely reasonable that he'd have one there,
Well,
I
it looks
suppose.
exactly like it too. Oh my gosh.
Mhm.
Yeah, it that's very cute.
They're strangely adorable. Yes,
I want
they're just slimes
one.
around skeletons.
It's a jelly cat. Oh.
Oh man, but that would be an interesting cat cam for the stream.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Okay, and then there's one more. Sorry. Lady Vosh is the other one.
Right. Again, nothing
Baron.
particular. Yeah, nothing particularly new or unique about this one, but again, like she is, being depicted as her Baronish Voss version, and it's neat to have another chance of getting a Vosh skin. Of course, she'll be for shaman and whatnot. But for people like me who missed, didn't get the pre-order of Ashes of Outlands, and like, eventually they cycle back. Like as we're recording right now, they brought Lazul available for purchase again for a limited
Yeah.
I
time and
was gonna
stuff.
say,
So like,
yeah, I heard there was some back in the shop right now.
yeah, Lazul and Maiev are currently back in the shop as of our recording. But this is another version of Vosh that it's nice to have a shot at her. And personally, I think it looks even cooler than the original Ashes of Outland version.
Oh, I
So
agree. It looks very cool.
Yeah.
yeah, so yeah, that's just her in her Baroness of Maldraxes version.
Nice.
And that's about all that we have for this installment. As I said, next time we will focus more on in-depth story of Revendreth because that's where the majority of the cards are. We'll talk all about even a lot of the cons. Some of you guys might be wondering, what are these weird-looking dredger things? What's that red smoky horse? What are the big brutish things that are called the biggins? We'll talk about all of that when we delve
Biggin.
deep. Mm-hmm. But this is all we have time for now. We covered the basic structure of the entire realm of death. I think that's enough for one night.
I mean, yeah. It's not a light or small topic.
No.
Good times. Thank you so much for your storytelling. Like, I love hearing about this stuff. And when we did the Sunken City, I did kind of a deep dive into the lore, and I just did not do that this time. And so I had a great time actually, like, trying to, like, getting to learn about it and hear about it all for the first time. It was very fun. I enjoy it very much, and I appreciate all of the work that you put into preparing for it.
As always, my pleasure.
We will
Oh, it
have
is our
to,
pleasure.
right?
Very
Now,
much so.
I wonder, and we'll have to talk about this offline or whatever, but like if there's enough here or any ideas to make for a listener series season
You
6.
read my mind. I was just thinking about that, and I think that there was a lot of potential here. At the very least, we could extend it out to the Shadowlands in general, but there might be enough just in the Revendreth. We'll see.
The Castlevania aesthetic is like one of my absolute favorites. Like absolute favorite. Like, we were talking about this before the show started, but like we were up playing Castlevania, and like this was Goliath, Revendreth and the Venthyr and everything. It's just super cool aesthetic. Big fan.
I love
as
it
well.
because I've been playing the OG NES Castlevanias. I've been going through those in the last like couple weeks here, so it just all fits for me too.
Yeah. It's super cool. The board is out now. You can play with it. It's like littered with weapons, which is very funny. It's a big nod to Clue. I have not found any secrets on the board, so if anyone finds any,
Same.
I don't either.
Some of them are just have them more well hidden than others. Some of them they just put more stuff in than others. I don't know which is which.
If
I do
someone
lo-
pops
I
out
love-
with a whip, I will laugh very hard.
I love the ones where you can play music most of all.
Yeah.
Like the old dear one or Angoro or whatnot. But yeah, I feel like there's a lead pipe there and a candlestick and all of that. There's at least funny little nods. And I am really curious to see where they go in terms of the Hearthstone original story for all this, because obviously they're taking it in a different direction, merging it with this Clue aesthetic and bringing in Murloc Holmes, who was previously just a fun little Battlegrounds treasure and everything. So, and of course they brought Ratham in, who is a Hearthstone exclusive. And we'll talk more about the actual story of Revendreth later on, but I am just really curious to see what the Hearthstone version does with it.
Right?
Yeah, we can trust them to make something enjoyably zany.
I'm sure. Is it appropriate now to guess or predict at the mini set, or would it be better to wait until we've revealed more of the Revendreth story?
I'd say we can talk a little more now. We can maybe go over it and make some edits after we talk about everything else. But I'd say right now, in terms of mini set, there are a few key characters, as I mentioned, that are not currently present. One of them is a Venthyr who is doesn't have a card right now, but is a major role. She's called the Accuser. And there's a couple other major characters who are your allies there with names like General Draven and Narya the Mistblade. And it's like if they're going in all on the Revendreth stuff, there is like a lot of ones that are missing here. But as I said, there are also lots of characters from other Shadowlands things that could play a role. My current thinking right now, not really having very much to go on, is that the mini set could, because there's the strong connection between Denathrius secretly helping out the jailer, And the whole thing is that like all the anima he's storing is to empower the jailer and go down into the maw. So potentially we could have something related to the jailer and the maw as a mini set. Just thinking of something connected, because they tend to do a what's the next step type of thing here. So that's my current working theory, but I think we're going to have to wait to see more evidence about the direction they seem to be going in with their story of what would be the follow up. But it's going to be something Shadowlands related, because it's
Yeah.
way too big for them to suddenly decide out of nowhere to step outside of the theme of the Shadowlands for the mini set.
Right. The
That's
jailer
about all
is
that I can say now.
the jailer
But he
is
would be
so
an awesome
cool.
legendary.
If I would love to see it as a skin and a legendary and whatever else they want to do with it would be really cool.
Well, he's cool when he has his armor on. Have you seen any pictures of him without his armor?
Oh gosh.
Oh no, no.
I don't want to see a naked jailer.
Because he is a lot
Clip
less
that, Nate.
intimidating.
That reminds me, did you see the clip for he still looks kind of scary, not as much, but
I think he'd look better with a beard
yeah.
and some hair.
Did you see the clip from the I think it was our evolved shaman mini set, or evolved shaman what do you call it? Theorycraft event. Go click on that. That's wonderful.
Oh wow, so good.
Anyhow, mini set, that would be great.
Yeah.
All right, we've been at this for just shy of 2 hours, so maybe we should wrap it up a little bit here. We've got
Yeah. We have some challenges to talk about, don't
Yeah,
we?
let's move into our weekly challenge. So this last week we had Nate come up with an idea, which I thought was pretty cool. We've been doing some custom cards, but it was Nate's idea to do a custom hero with hero power, and he was thinking some vampires. Nate's in a bit of a vampire mood. So what could we get for the best custom hero with hero powers in the style of being a vampire? So we chose, there was a few submissions, but we went with Laughing Frog, who submitted a card. And when I saw the name of this, I was already sold, basically. Like, you could not have picked a better name, Laughing Frog, because the card's name is It's Morbin Time. And I was like, all right, okay, well, I guess I should read what it does. But so this card morphs into a Blood Herald. And it's got a battle cry. Gain 1 armor for each friendly minion that dies while this is in your hand. So it doesn't have the set armor that the other hero cards have, down in the bottom corner. This costs 6 mana, and it has 3 different hero powers that rotate.
Kind of like
The
a
first
Dr.
one,
Boom.
yeah, Dr. Boom style, right? So you don't know which one you're going to get. I don't know if it's going to be random or if it's going to go in order, but the first one is Shriek, which is 2 mana, deal 2 damage to all enemy minions.
Wow.
Kind of ridiculous if you're going in some sort of aggro deck and you manage to get to turn 6. I guess turn 7 if you want to push the button. But then the next one is 2 mana, Flame Blast, deal 5 damage, randomly split among all enemies. And the final 2 mana, Bloodthirsty, Lifesteal, deal 3 damage. So this is a bit of the Blood Reaver Gul'dan. We said we didn't really want to, completely emulate what Blood Reaver Gul'dan does, but I feel like
It's on point. It's on point for a vampire thing, yeah.
It's on point, and it has other things that it does as well. So I think this was pretty cool. What do you guys think about this one?
Oh
Well,
gosh.
as someone
I'd play
who
it.
cares a lot about the art in Hearthstone, it's one of the biggest draws for me. I really appreciate how for every hero power, they all did like a different bat-themed card art. I just pulled
Yeah,
from that.
I like how
It's
there's
just-
fiery bat there. Yeah, it was super cool.
Yeah, and I'm curious then about which came first, of whether they saw the art and were like, we can make a hero power themed around that, or looked for something that fit it well. But like it just thematically, it fits great together. Like the idea, like morphing into different versions of a bat in order to have different powers. I like the fantasy.
I quite enjoy it as well. I would play that. Oh, I would play that in a heartbeat. 6 mana. Wow, that's cheap.
But if it gets its fangs in you, you might not have a heartbeat.
Oh, and actually, I didn't think about it. This is very green. This is Hunter, is it not?
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, so it's 6 mana, just like Beaststalker Tavish or Deathstalker Rexar. Yeah.
Very, very cool. Well, congratulations, Laughing Frog. You are going to get 2 packs on us from the expansion of your choice. Now, we've got another challenge just like we do each and every week, and this one's going to be a little bit Goliath themed. So well, I was on Discord earlier and I was trying to find some like memes or whatever of Goliaths, and this one popped up of David and Goliath, and David was bonking Goliath right between the eyes with a little stone, and and it made me, and it totally procked in my mind we could do a Goliath themed challenge. Smallest minion to kill the biggest minion. So what you need to do, and obviously poison's going to be a thing, but I want the listeners to kill the biggest thing you can with the smallest thing you can. And you can't do this against a friend. You can't do this against Innkeeper. And probably not even in other solo content. The best place that we want you to do this, the only place that we want you to do this, is either on ladder, but if you do not want to tank your rank, you can do this in casual. Post your screenshots of your smallest minion killing the absolute biggest minion, and post that screenshot in our weekly challenges channel in our Discord, and you will receive 2 Hearthstone packs on us and be immortalized in the Born to Be Wild Hall of Fame.
Hooray!
All right. Were we doing bans or no bans?
So I thought about that a little bit because there was a few cards we could ban, but you know what? Unless you guys got any good suggestions, I say it's all fair game. But what do you think?
I do think that the Dark Moon Rabbit, just because it's already, it's a 1/1.
It has Rush,
poison
too.
and it has Rush. Yes, it's 10 mana, but like it's got everything you need to just immediately bonk off the biggest minion. There are different ways to give small minions poison or rush, etc. But like having it all just built into one card seems like it's a little too easy, especially since it's tutorable. With like
Yeah,
Talon.
Fair enough. That was the only one I
Organ.
was concerned about as well.
Yeah.
So
And
all right.
just to clarify then, so when we say that the smallest minion kills the biggest minion, I think we should clarify. So does the smallest minion have to kill the biggest minion on its own, or is it we're just talking doing the killing blow?
Oh no,
here?
this is solo, man. This needs to it needs to solo it. We are talking the traditional like David and Goliath situation. So it has to kill it by itself. So it can't get the last 1 to 2 damage in. It needs to take it out on its own.
And does it need to survive?
Oh.
That's a good question. I don't think it necessarily needs to survive. I think it's okay for it to die, because otherwise that'd be.
That might be hard unless you want to give it Divine Shield. Extra points if it survives.
There you go. Extra points for it if it survives. I like that.
If we're talking the smallest minion, then clearly, well, no, if it dies, because then it has 0 health. So that's ultimately the smallest. If it's a 0, you kill it with a 0 attack, 0 health minion.
Zero, zero.
Semantics.
Can't get any smaller.
I love
Or
it.
if you make it overkill, so you have like negative 20 health, that's the smallest.
Oh yeah, I think that was a really good question. Though I think extra points if it survives for sure. Bonus
All
points
right.
there.
We can do
It
that.
has to go on its own.
I love it.
All
I love
right.
it.
I figured someone would probably ask that later in the week. So
No,
better
that's
think of it
no,
now.
that's smart. Better to
Good
try to.
clarification.
Very cool.
Best of luck to everybody who gives this a shot. Let's see if you can fell me.
Oh gosh.
Goliath is your final boss this week.
All right.
And knowledge is
Extra points
power,
if
so
you can beat him with a rock.
You know what? There was a card, right? Was it called a small rock or something like that? And one of the solo.
Be creative. Use your imaginations.
Oh my
I think that
gosh.
was from like
one of the-
Tess's Hero Power and the Monster Hunter solo.
Yeah, it was
content.
like one of the dungeon crawls or the monster
Yeah.
hunt or whatever. Yeah.
All rock.
Jeez, good times. All right, well, that is pretty much the show for us. However,
And now,
I mean,
unrelated advice
I love that you brought this back.
with Nate Wolf.
all right, so we're talking about the Shadowlands a little bit, and just for funsies, like if Goliath, let me ask you, if you were going to the Shadowlands, which zone would you want to end up in, and why?
So I think that depends on how high we're talking here, because I think that for someone if you're just someone who is sent to any of the places that we started with, it's not necessarily the greatest, because let's see, if you're starting out as Curian, then Curian and Maldraxes essentially start out as boot camps. Ardenweald, you're sleeping in a seat the whole time, and for Revendreth, you are getting the pride tortured out of you. However, if we're talking about so I'm a bit of a higher ranked employee there or something. I do, like, as I said, I chose Revendreth partially because of the aesthetic, but partially because I do really like that whole, helping give people a second chance type of thing. And I think that does synergize very well with me. My character was a paladin, and it was like, it seemed that was the sort of thing that he would gravitate to. I'd say if not that, if I just like really wanted more of the restful afterlife type of thing, which is kind of my idea of the, you do good in life, you work hard, and in the afterlife you get rewarded with rest, not with more hard work. So I would not want to be a Kyriad. I would not want to go to Maldraxes. Where you're fighting for eternity. I would probably pick Ardenweald in that sense, because I kid you not, Ardenweald is sometimes like the zone, like everything is painted in like these deep blues and greens, and with the music, it's like perfect if you need something to help put you to sleep. And like, which makes sense. They're all about hibernation there and everything, essentially. So I'd say it would, if I'm in an active mood, I'd say Revendreth. If I'm in I just want to chill mood, I would pick Ardenweald. What about you, Hydra?
I'm just glad that we have someone here that could make an educated decision on where they would go, because I would just pick the wrong place and probably just get like tortured and die.
Like, I'm thinking I'm gonna go to the Void. That sounds nice, right?
Right? Like, yeah,
To
yeah,
the
that sounds,
void, Nate,
that sounds nice and
come.
quiet and peaceful, right? It sounds pretty good to me. I'll go there. No!
And remember, there's infinite afterlife, so it doesn't have to be one of the four. You can't. There's something that the arbiter would select that's just right for everybody. Like I'm sure Sheep would get sent to a very nice farm afterlife somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, if I had to choose based on the ones that we covered today, I'd probably go to Bastion, so that I could hang out with the stewards.
Yes.
Of course, of course.
That was a good
recognize them all.
choice. Good choice.
Yes, I know. You do get to constantly sting out with them. Like they're your personal buddies, your assistants all the time and everything. They even play music for you. Yeah, there's ones with like little flutes and everything.
Sheep's geeking out over
it's
there.
the perfect afterlife. Like,
yeah.
You even said the buddy word. It's great. It's like it was meant to be.
uh-huh.
And you get some cool wings. If you're okay with turning blue, you get some cool wings.
Dabba dee dabba die.
Wiser words were never spoken.
And you heard that on Born to Be
Wild. Blue to be wild.
Hey,
Yeah, I guess Blue Train would be a perfect Kyrian. He's already blue.
right? The Emerald Dream sounds pretty nice. Not gonna lie.
It really does. I mean, I just had to be on brand and go with Bastion so I could hang out with the stewards.
No, that makes sense. That makes perfect sense.
New tribe when?